In this lesson, we're going to learn the double palm downward block in L stance. So if you recall from previously, when we did L stance, we did both hands moving up together like this, and then we came down and we did single palm downward block, just like this. Now, when you go to do double palm downward block, what you're going to do is, instead of just one hand here, we now add the second hand here, just like this. So both hands still come up together, just like they did before. So bring both hands up, body weight up like this, and then down, like a shock absorber. You want to come down and kind of bounce. So down, blocking with both hands, and bouncing. Now, one of the interesting things about this block is for your right hand, your fingers are always going to point to the left. And for your left hand, your fingers are always going to point to the right in the opposite direction. Doesn't matter which foot you have in front. So if I have left leg in front like this, left hand is going to be farthest away from my body, but my fingers are going to point to the right, just like that. My right hand is going to be closest to my body, and my fingers are going to point to the left. So I'm going to be like this. This would be the final position for the block. So you notice that there's a bit of a space between the hands here, but they're otherwise in line with each other. So you don't want to have your hands apart like this. You don't want to have your hands over like this, crossing over. Your hands are in line with each other, but there is a space between them. And again, not too much of a space, and you don't want them right tight together either. So from here, bringing both hands up like this, and raising your body up like this, and then down. So up and down like this. Blocking with the palms. So the palm is the blocking tool for this technique. And you notice that the hands, they're pointing in opposite directions like this. They're not, you don't have your hands forwards like this. They're sideways. So again, we're trying to maximize the amount of blocking surface that we have. So whether you're doing this block as single palm downward block, in which case it would just be the front hand that is doing the blocking and the other hand would be back, the fingers are always pointing to the side. You never block with the hand facing forward like this. So this is giving more coverage and more protection. And you can see that in the worst case, if you miss with the palm, you've still got the arm in front of you as well, providing some protection here. If you're to start doing something like this, then you can see that you're wide open. So, and pretty good chance as well that your fingers are going to get broken if your block is a little bit short. So that's why it's very important, whether you're doing single palm downward block or whether you're doing double palm downward block, that the hands are sideways, like this, right? Not facing forward. So, what is double palm downward block used for? You can use this to knock down a side kick, for example. So if somebody is coming in, mid-level side kick, you can use this technique to swat it down. So knocking the leg down like this and blocking. This is also a very practical block, because if you're in a fighting stance, your hands are already in the right position to be able to do a double palm downward block. So if I'm in a fighting stance and I'm like this, my hands are right here. If an attack is coming in below my guard, I can shut it down right away. So we talk about doing full motion all the time in every block, right? Practicing full motion. But of course, in the real world, if you're in a fighting stance and you need to use this block, there's an attack coming, there it is right there. The hands are right in the correct position to go very quickly from a guarding block into a double palm downward block. So, I mentioned you can use this against a side kick. In some instances, you can use it to defend against a punch or a grab. If somebody's reaching towards you, you can swat the hand down and take it out of the way quickly. When you do the double palm downward block instead of the single, you are fully committed to this block. So what I mean by that is previously we did single palm downward block and we had this hand back ready here. You could protect up here with this hand. You could immediately counterattack. Now we're fully committed to the block. So we've lowered both hands. So if an attack comes up here, then that's the risk that you take when you're doing this block. One other thing I want to mention is very important as well, not to have your fingers splayed out like this to the side. Your fingers have to be tight. Your thumb has to be in at the side. Don't leave your thumb hanging out like this or it's going to get broken. So have your fingers tight, have the thumb tight when you have this block in, and make sure that you're protecting in front of your body. So the block doesn't do you any good out here or out here. You're protecting here. So frontal attacks, you can even use this against front snap kick. Again, if you're very careful and if you block higher up on the leg. So for example, you don't want to be blocking, somebody's kicking, you don't want to be blocking the foot. But with the double palm downward block, this far away hand here is going to be swatting down at the knee or even above the knee, and the other one is going to get it on the shin. So those two hands together, you get more blocking force, twice as much blocking force when you're using two hands instead of just the one hand. So this makes it a more effective block than just the single palm downward block. So there are techniques that you can stop with this now, that more powerful techniques that you couldn't stop with the single palm downward block. So, but again, very important, up, right? Bring both hands up and then like a shock absorber, down and bounce. Over, up, and then down, bounce. So, practicing double palm downward block by count. 2, 3, turn around. 2, 3, turn around. Right, and this one, also very important that you get this block low enough. So some schools, they will stop this block way up here, too high. This one here, you've got to come all the way down, and then at the finish of the block, you elevate it back up again. So in other words, you block, so you've covered your torso all the way down to groin level, you've covered, and then you raise it back up again. So up and then down, bouncing, just like that. So that is double palm downward block in L stance.